What's up, how you doing? Have my pineapple juice here with the ice, nice and cold, refreshing. Delicious. Anyway, earlier today, I found that bus I was looking for. And when I was a kid, I went to this school that was kind of far from my house. In the morning, I had a ride. Some guy had a son, lived in my neighborhood, and he would go that way, pass by my house. And he said, yeah, I'd give him a ride. So he started giving me a ride in the morning. Nice guy, very nice guy. You get in the car, and it smelled like Old Spice. He used to wet his hair with Old Spice and comb it in the morning. He had like a 50s hairstyle, always clean cut. Nice guy. And we used to listen to 1940s music on the way to the school. So he would drive me in the morning, but on the way back, I would take the train and the bus to get back. So I would take the streetcar named Desire, and then I would go all the way. It was like probably 2.5, 3 miles on the streetcar, and then I would catch the bus. Now, the buses they had originally were the GMC buses from, I guess, the 50s and 60s. But then at some point, they switched them out, and they brought in these new buses, and they were a Flyer D901. Flyer 9 D901 was the bus. I don't know who makes Flyer, but they brought them in, and I was like, wow, these are cool. You know, they look like shoe boxes. One window, the passenger side window, was normal. It was, you know, flush with the bus, but the other window, the driver's side window, that was kind of like inward in an angle. And they had power steering. So I would go up there, and the bus driver, which would be his last stop or the first stop, no matter, depends how you look at it, he would get off and take his break, and then we would get on. A bunch of us, you know, not people that I knew, but a bunch of people from that stop would get on, and they would put their coins or their coinage in the machine, that turnstile looking thing. It wasn't a turnstile, but that change machine, and it would fill up with, you know, maybe 30 people, you know, 30 people's worth of coinage. So then he would get on and start the bus up. It had that smooth, you know, roaring sound, and he would pull the lever or the lever down, and all the change would empty into the machine, and the machine would start that counting. And I would sit in the front to watch him drive, and I would enjoy that little clicking noise that the change would make. It was like very relaxing to hear. So, and I would enjoy that ride home. It was like a 45-minute ride. And it would take maybe 7-8 minutes for the machine to count all that change. And I wanted to have one of those machines in my room, just to mess with it. It's like such a cool little thing. Occasionally I do find them now in antique shops, but I haven't bought one. So anyway, that bus, I always had a fantasy of buying a bus like that. Like, not like that, but exactly like that. And refurbishing it. Taking out the seats, putting a couple of beds in the back, maybe a couch, a couple of captain seats, and then just driving it cross-country with different friends. Well, that never happened, but, you know, and now if you find a bus like that, the only thing they're good for is to put in the backyard and just go and put a TV in there and sit and watch TV, championship fights. But if you ever bought a bus that old, you'd have to repair it every other day. You know, you change the whole system on it. But yeah, it was like my thing to you know, eventually buy a bus like that and just drive it around. Be like the A-Team. And also the other thing, you know, I said, well, if I can't do that, I'm going to buy a bread truck. You know, one of those bread trucks. Thought those were cool. You know, they look like armored vehicles. And I thought about, you know, buying one of those and putting a couch and a bed in the back that was so big, and then just driving cross-country or to Alaska or whatever. And then you get tired, you pull over at a rest stop and take a nap on the bed. And that may happen, you never know. So, but anyway, the first bus was made by GMC. Those were around from like the 50s, I think, 50s, 60s. And then the Flyer D901, I think it's like a 1982 model. I don't know who made those. I don't know. I never heard of a company named Flyer, except for the red wagon things. So I still like those buses, but back in those days, I was a huge public transportation guy. I have so many memories of me just waiting at a bus stop for a bus in different parts of the city. You know, wintertime especially was rough. But I was always on a bus back then, always going somewhere on a train. Even Greyhound. For a while, I was a Greyhound guy. I was always on a Greyhound bus. And now I haven't been on those kind of buses in years, many years. It would feel weird. But when I was little, I had favorite stops for the train. I had it all, like, you know, mapped out. There was a train stop that had a Dunkin' Donuts there, and eventually I would make my way to that train station. I would get off, I would go to Dunkin' Donuts, I would buy a honey dip donut, and then I would eat it on the bench, and then I would continue my journey. I would be all over the place. And this was when I was in the 6th grade and on. But it started, you know, by myself on the 6th grade. But before that, I would get, you know, a train ride, like my mother would go in town or something when I was really little, like 3, 4 years old. And then there was a break, and then I started taking it again just locally when I was 2nd grade, actually. 2nd grade I would get on the bus. Back then, it was pretty common to see little kids taking the bus. Now you don't see that anymore unless they have an adult or a guardian. But in my time, you could be, you know, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, whatever, and you'd have your change, and it was a dime back then. Drop it in and go. Now nobody does that anymore. You know, you don't want to get kidnapped. But I would, you know, go locally. But then in 6th grade, I would go far. I would go to the airport by myself. I would go all the way to the beach by myself in the wintertime. And then other times I would sit within the system and just, you know, spend like $1 and just stay on the trains all day, because they're all connected. And if you don't go outside, it's the same price. You know, it's just whatever you paid originally. But it was fun. And like I said, I had it mapped out, so I would stop in certain places and get a snack. Very tasty. Anyway, that's it. That's it. But I will say that now, when I think of getting a bus like that, I don't think of it like getting a public transportation bus and converting it. Now you think of getting a really nice bus like those rock stars have. Not that nice, but kind of like that. You know, like a motorhome, an RV. Because, you know, you'd stick out like a sore thumb if you bought a bus from the public transportation company and you painted it or something and then drove that around. Be like, look at that guy, Partridge Family. I think they had a school bus though. That's it. Time to go to bed and relive tomorrow as if it were today. Good night.